First of all, what is this opportunity that we are talking about? Are there opportunities? Are there opportunities? And if there are opportunities, how can we be able to tap into them? Indresh.
Yeah. So I think thank you very much, and it's a pleasure being here with the eminent panelists. So I think opportunities, when you say opportunities, there are umpteen number of opportunities. Okay. I'll just give you an example, and I will draw parallels from two developing countries. I still consider India as a developing country, though I have been in Kenya for the last 7 years. And just to set the context that I specialize in execution. So over the last 7 years, we have built the largest student housing business in Kenya. It's now the largest in Africa. It was till a couple of months back, it was largest in sub-Saharan Africa. So if I draw parallels, if you look at when you set up a business, right, what we currently look at, most of the entrepreneurs that I interact with, what they're looking at that one idea, okay, that unique idea, which can scale up. But you should also look at opportunities, and when you said opportunities, when a car manufacturer comes and sets up a factory, it gives a lot of opportunities for several businesses to set up factories. And that's how countries grow, that's how economies grow, that's how SMEs grow. So there is a main guy who is coming and setting up something, but there are opportunities in and around that entrepreneurial venture that people miss out completely. They are all looking at that one single idea, which will be like very big. They don't realize that even the adjacent opportunities which are in the periphery, they can also be as big as the main idea. And that is how, if you look at economies, and I'll draw parallel again, Indian economy has grown like that. You have multinational companies who started off as an OEM, original equipment manufacturer. They were supplying parts to the main company, but today they are supplying parts globally. So the opportunities, you should not look at where are the opportunities in terms of, you have some businesses which are already there. There are opportunities in and around them. Another example from my own organization. We started off with student housing. We have currently almost like 7,000 students staying with us. Now that's a big opportunity for us. It was not just student housing. If we have to tap into something else, which is what we are doing, for the last 7 years, we have been able to build knowledge, which most of the entrepreneurs, they miss out when they are scaling up. They do not create knowledge. And that is why they keep going in circles, again doing the same thing and repetitive work. So if you can create knowledge, you can now impart that knowledge in skilling so many individuals who are staying with you. It's a captive audience. There's an opportunity. There is an opportunity for us providing now, which we are now doing, as a third-party service provider. Can we enable business transformation across other businesses? Why not? Because we have created a platform. We have solutions, we have knowledge. Why can't we offer that knowledge to scale up other businesses? So what I'm saying is, student housing was the core idea. But we have created opportunities in and around that student housing in so many ways. And we are more than happy to partner with so many other organizations who are providing opportunities within the main opportunity. So I think we need to change the way we think opportunities. Everybody is saying health tech, edu tech, fintech, insurance tech. You have an insurance company already doing something. You set up a skilling center for their sales guys. There was a company which was called National Institute of Sales in India, which was sold at 3 billion shilling. It was sold off. It was only specializing in sales. Right? It created an opportunity around retail when retail was coming up. So the opportunities is a very, it's not an enigma. You need to demystify it. Yeah. And start seeing it all around. You will see opportunities.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, Rachel. Yeah, sure. Rachel, in the industry that you're in, what are the opportunities available that you have been able to see that are available for us?
And thanks for the question. So it's very easy to come after Indresh because I think he said pretty much everything I wanted to say. But I think maybe just to add, for Solidaridad, we actually work within the agriculture, agribusiness space. So what we have tended to find, especially in a sector that is very vital to the most African countries' GDP, but sometimes not necessarily always invested in appropriately, that we tend to advocate for our entrepreneurs to not only just seek opportunities, but to create them themselves. So if I think about some of the approaches that we use, so I think from the first starting point, the thing we'd always encourage is looking at emerging trends within the market. So like within agriculture, agribusiness space, there's a lot of buzzwords that are coming up. Whether it's climate change or carbon markets or circularity. And we find that within agriculture and agribusiness, that actually presents quite a bit of an opportunity. It presents an opportunity for farmers to transition into sustainable agriculture, which then means that there's the potential of tapping into new markets that perhaps can have more premiums. If you transition out of maybe conventional agriculture to organic, you might be able to see a shift also in your incomes and the work that you're doing. We're also seeing that, especially with the impacts of climate change, a lot of investment around sort of climate resilient infrastructure. So whether it's working in water, in waste management, within the ag and agribusiness space, that's also an opportunity that's been coming up. Looking at things around renewable energy and how that transition could also support not only sustainable businesses, but also sustainable agriculture as a whole. And also elements around like circularity. So the big buzzwords actually come with potential opportunities within them that you just need to unpack. And I think lastly, there was a lady in the back that also mentioned value addition. So I think the way that Solidaridad is approaching it is not necessarily only just looking at it from an on-farm perspective, but also off-farm perspective. So there are available opportunities out there that you could tap into. I think it just needs you to really try and focus on the market trends and really also start looking at sort of technology, innovation, and different advancements even within policy. If I can give you just a simple example, around sort of the carbon markets, and now you're hearing a lot about carbon trading, especially even in Kenya. And the bulk of the verifiers for carbon markets do not exist in Africa. The bulk of them are international. So even something within the sort of value chain could be an opportunity because some of those verifiers get paid about $20,000. And none of them come from the continent. Who is training to take on some of those functions? So as you look at the shifts in technology, innovation within the market, I think it is your imperative to actually try and do some market intelligence to see where could you place yourself and where is that potential business opportunity for you.
Good. Asante sana. Amos, well, they usually say that, or rather we have been told as entrepreneurs over and over again that family, friends, and foolishness can be barriers to opportunities. What other barriers? What other barriers do we have, or what other barriers have you seen that are preventing young people, especially, from reaching these opportunities that have been mentioned by Rachel?
But first of all, I'm very happy to be here this morning. I'm so glad that Dr. Kim and Jacob dragged me to be here. I have learned a lot this morning. I blame them for being here. Dr. Kim happens to be somebody I look up to. My mentor. He slept in my home, slept in his home. 3 weeks ago, I was in London with him. But I also want to say, Kenya, I think it would be nice for you to borrow good weather from Uganda. Your weather slightly moody. So the thing is, as I want to say, I'm also happy to see many Ugandans in the room, and just knowing that some of them were able to see on my social media to be able to register and come here. Come and learn from Kenyans. There's a lot of knowledge here. There's a lot of aggressiveness. I feel like Ugandans are extremely very smart, but lack that aggressive nature. In fact, in Uganda, many Ugandans call me Kenyan just because I have our Kesa name.
Actually, yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
it's
and
true.
And I tell them no. It's just that poverty drove me if poverty can't inspire you, if hunger or poverty can't inspire you to be better, then you have a problem, you know. For the young people, of course, if you look at a country like Uganda, we extremely very fertile. We produce about 1.3 to 1.5 new Ugandans every year. We have about 1 million Ugandans turning to the age of 18 every single year. And unfortunately, a lot of it, some of it is children producing children. And that hinders, it affects education, it affects, of course, there's also an issue of leadership, focused leadership. I always tell leaders that no one sits there and thinks beyond the political term of 5 years. And no one, like for example in Uganda, sometimes I'm always angry. Why isn't anybody knowing that by 2050 the population of Uganda is going to be 100 million Ugandans? And what's the plan for the young people? And also, of course, the other one is a type of education. We are still holding on education that was introduced by the British. The British changed the same education that we are studying today in Uganda in 1967. The British have changed their education so many times. And I think the other one is also just lack of understanding that the world is focusing mainly on practical aspects of education to be able to tap into the opportunities. But that said, for me, I feel it's a privilege. Like I said, meetings like this make me reflect. And why I reflect is just to thank God that I'm actually can be here, you know. So, and I'm saying this because I was born in extreme poverty. Some of you can Google my name. I went to a children's home. You know, how many of you know Kabete? So I was in Salvation Army Children's Home in Tororo. It's so Salvation Army that has Kabete. You know, I grew up in such a home. Then I was extremely, very useless in class and failed. I was one of the worst performers in my A levels. But also there's a reason, because I went to a nursery school at the age of 10 and finished A levels at the age of 23. At 23, hormones are working, you're confused about life. And after failing school, I became a cleaner, you know. I became an office messenger. I first became a cleaner, earning $10 a month, became an office messenger, became a tour guide. And by God's grace, I am where I am. I've done quite a bit. So I run a few businesses. I'm also a bit in agro-processing. I have a plant that processes about 18 types of grains. But I'm mainly in tourism. I have a company called Uganda Lodges. I have a number of safari lodges in Uganda, Great Lake Safaris. And also in Tanzania, we're going to be building about 4 lodges, God willing, the next 2-3 years. First one opens next month. Also run a marathon, Rwenzori Marathon next month. Kenyans come and compete for some money. I know you're good at running. But in terms of opportunities in tourism, this year, according to WTTC, World Tourism and Travel Council, tourism will earn the world about $8.9 trillion. Wow. And for Africa, we are getting somewhere between 4 to 5% of that earnings. And it's mainly because tourism is not well understood by general leaders across Africa. There's also a challenge of too many visas. Africans traveling within Africa is sometimes harder than Africans moving out of Africa. It's actually easier for a foreigner and coming from outside Africa traveling within Africa than African traveling within Africa. The other one has been air transport. For a long time, Emirates was the one dominant in terms of transporting Africans within Africa. Thankfully, Ethiopian Airlines took over. It's now the number one. We right now have about 160 million Africans moving within Africa, and by 2032, we shall be having about 300 million Africans moving within Africa. Now, in as far as resource, Africa has raw resource, of course. If you look at a country like Uganda, you've got so much that a lot of Africa does not know about. You have the source, the longest river in the world. Even just a pineapple. Today morning I was eating a pineapple and I'm like, it's just 50 kilometers, 50 minutes by air from Uganda. But the pineapple is different from a Ugandan pineapple, So that's the best weather in the world. We have 53.9% of the population of the mountain gorillas. We've got big portion of Lake Victoria with islands, different groups of islands. We've got highest concentration of primates in a place like called Kibale. We've got like I said, there's just so much that is within Uganda, but even Ugandans themselves don't know about it. And I was talking to the head of infrastructure for Aga Khan on a flight, and he told me, as Aga Khan Group, we think that being in tourism is one of the greatest things that we have chosen to do. And he said the people that are going to be looking for opportunities to see a lion can only grow. So the opportunities for tourism can only grow. And even the estimates by World Tourism and Travel Council says by 2034, just 10 years from now, the world will be earning about $17 trillion from tourism. And therefore, for the young people, there is a lot of opportunities, yes, in agriculture, but at the same time, there will be a lot of opportunities in tourism as well.
Asante sana. Lucy, when I was coming this way, I missed the turn. So I had to go all the way, it's about 12 kilometers out, and then turn, and then it's a horrible nightmare whenever you miss a turn on Thika Road. The Kenyans who are here, you know what I'm talking about. When you miss a turn on Thika Road, you find yourself in another county, then you have to turn. So that's more or less, and I realized the reason why that happened for me is because I wasn't paying much attention. I think I had a lot on my mind, and number two, I assumed I knew where Kenya Monetary, I assumed, I'm Kenyan, I assumed, okay? So I missed that turn and went all the way and had to come back, and I realized that when it comes to opportunities, quite a number of people, we also tend to do that. We tend to miss opportunities, basically because we assume, like me, or we're just absent-minded, or there are very many things that cause us to miss opportunities. So what can we do to double back and be able to regain these opportunities? Is there something that we can do in order to redo or undo that which we have already done in missing out opportunities?
Thank you, Dipo. So pivoting, as you say, going back, pivoting effectively is very important for the long-term success of a business. And the first thing I believe that a business should do, we work across Africa, B-Lab, and we support all types of businesses in just improving on their operational performance, measuring their social and environmental impact, and as you said, we certify businesses as well, high-impact businesses. And the first thing a business should do is actually evaluate where they are at, right? What are the key learnings as a business you have learned from the, maybe a strategy that did not work. So what are the key learnings? And then one thing I'd like to stress about, and I think now Africa is taking advantage, is the use of data and insights to be able to now assist you in pivoting. Like, what is the data you've gotten based on where you're at and the key learnings? What is the market research? Rachel had mentioned that in terms of intelligence. What's the market research you're doing? This could be from survey groups, from your customers as well. What is the research telling you? Also, are you able to learn from your competitors as well, who've actually been able to pivot, right? And something else that I think entrepreneurs should be able to do more is mentorship. How do we seek mentorship from now others who've gone before us and have been able to succeed in that line of business, right? And let's say you're also struggling at a certain point where you're also trying to think through what are the next steps. How do we realign our goals as a business? How do we now reevaluate, maybe take on a new strategy? And how do we communicate that to also our internal and external stakeholders on this new strategy that we are aligning on as we now think through where the business is going? Looking at also operational efficiencies as well. Here we are looking at maybe we'll have to cut down a bit on our budget to be able to make through the year. So looking again as the budget, what do we need to streamline? What do we need to optimize? How do we optimize our resources? And I really liked something that the previous, I think he's called Simon, that had mentioned about innovation. where he said resources have never been scarce, only resourceful mindsets. But really thinking through innovation, Indresh spoke about it in terms of there could be something, an industry that's come up, but the opportunities around us. How do we innovate? How do you make your teams as well, have that culture of creativity as a leader, where, you're empowering your team to be more creative and to think through, ideas that could now set you apart, or even bring new, diversify your income with giving new business models, because maybe the line of business you're in right now, there are too many competitors. Now you're trying to think of also what other business models would make sense for you. And I also believe in strategic partnerships. It's something we work with a lot at B-Lab. We're a lean team. Most of my team is in Kenya and South Africa, but we support the whole of Africa. So we lean into strategic partnerships so that we're seeing businesses that we are, which organizations are we like-minded, so that we can go further with the resources that we have. And one other thing I also want to mention is also how are we adapting? I think there needs to be that adaptivity. You should be adaptable and have a flexible mindset so that you're able to pivot very fast if something is not working. And then if something works, all systems go, let's go for it. So those are the, I'd say, some things that have worked for B-Lab Africa, and also in terms of the trainings that we do for entrepreneurs and businesses that we've seen that have worked for them.
I like that, especially the fact that you've touched on resources. And Indresh, I want you to weigh in on this. When it comes to resources, what resources exactly can we utilize, and how can we be able to utilize them in order to make our businesses viable, better, in order to make our businesses grow? What these resources that it seems like we're almost missing. They say that money is, let's say, people equate money to be the metal of your foundation, and then they put the opportunity as the magnet that would attract the money. So what are the resources, these resources? How do we get these resources? How do we utilize them?
Okay, so let me try to break it down, because when you say resources, there are certain resources which are completely untapped, especially because we as entrepreneurs, we are not able to visualize them. And I'll give you an example that there are certain regulatory facilitation that is provided by the country, but we don't even understand the regulation. So if you understand the regulation, you can engage with the right stakeholders and you can move things from a capital generation point of view. The previous panel discussed about capital. Like, for example, there is something which was existing in Kenya called Real Estate Investment Trust. Now, how many people who are into real estate are actually thinking how can they unlock the capital by creating assets or vehicles which can unlock this capital by adhering to the guidelines, which are, the framework exists, but we are not tapping into those resources. Now, that's external resources. Then you come to internal resources. I think one of the biggest resource are your people, right? Apart from tech and data, right? The customer data can also create a lot of opportunities. That's like a critical resource. But if you also look at tech and data, beyond tech and data, there is people knowledge. When you are growing up, and I'll give you an example how entrepreneurs, because I've worked with many entrepreneurs and there's a commonality. They visualize, okay? So, and just because they are so into that visualization, anybody who is able to channelize their energies into few visualization. Because if you just visualize, you can come up with many ideas. Most of the ideas may work, may not work. So somebody who is able to channelize the energy and then convert the visualization into tangible execution roadmap and simultaneously keep creating knowledge. And then the knowledge has to go back into the system in terms of processes, people, and systems. That is an extremely critical resource that entrepreneurs they miss out. So in their journey from 0 to 1 and from 1 to 5, there is a lot of resources that they are utilizing in terms of money and their time to unlearn, relearn, unlearn, relearn. The second is there is knowledge which exists. Most of the entrepreneurs, the young entrepreneurs, Google will not give you knowledge. Google will give you information. Knowledge is paid, but knowledge exists. So there is ready-made knowledge that you can access to fast-track your process, to fast-track your learning. But unfortunately, that is not tapped. 30 to 40% of the initial capital in your growth phase is utilized to learn, which could have been utilized to scale up. Now, these are the resources which are completely either not utilized properly or not tapped properly. There are guidelines, external guidelines which exist. Like we created like a retail real estate investment trust. We have unlocked capital for all our buildings because it's a very capital intensive business. Then we also realized that there is an innovative way to bring in retail investors to participate in real estate investment trust. Currently, real estate investment trusts are only for institutional investors. How can you bring in retail investors? We created a vehicle, and it's a fintech platform that we came up with, and we have unlocked retail investors to participate in REITs. Now, so resources, they exist. So it is tech enablement, data which exists in the business, massive resource, and then the capital that you are utilizing, if you can utilize it properly by accessing right knowledge. It could be in the form of deploying the right resource. It could be in the form of tapping into right knowledge bases to fast track your process of scaling up so that you do not waste that capital in just learning mistakes. People come back and say, even I have had conversation with my CEO, he says, look from where we have come. I said, yeah, but we could have come faster. But he still says, no, in Africa, I agree. There are a lot of constraints. So we need to manage the capital very, very tightly. It cannot be wasted on learning, unlearning, relearning. That cycle has to be broken. That's the biggest resource that we need to really, really manage well. Then is the knowledge. Data, tech, markets, new products. I think that's the secondary. It comes very easy.
Good. As Lucy and Rachel are preparing their parting shot, Amos, have you ever been in a situation where you took a risk, and in taking that risk, it actually led you into an opportunity?
All I've done in my life is risk. Some risks have taught me very hard lessons, of course.
Just pick one because we don't have time, unfortunately.
Yeah,
beautiful rest.
I mean, for example, COVID arrived, and I got actually a call. The first call I got was from Dr. Kim, and he says, COVID is going to be on for a very long time. Tourism was dead. So on my own, I thought, okay, let me go into agro-processing. Then I later realized that, well, I am very good at probably putting stuff together. I had no understanding of the agro-processing. Not sure I love it now, but because I'm only passionate about tourism, to be honest with you. But yeah, some of them are not. But I've had so many successes and so many failures at the same time.
That's good to hear. Okay, before we hear the parting shot, we are going to get 4 questions. We only have 4 questions. We only have time for 4 questions. You can shoot up your hand, and then, hey, Bwana MC, you shall help thee here. So we have 4 questions, please. Straight to the point. Let's start with here, then we'll go to the middle, like that. At least this side. And we have one this side. Pick one this side. Then we have one in front here. One at the back and one more.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
So we'll do slightly.
We start with that side, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
So slightly different. You'll ask your question and then get an immediate response, and then the next one like that. Eunice.
Thank you very much. In my struggle to get knowledge, I fell on the rates last month. And when he talked about the rate, I really wanted to know how it works. Is it the one that you're talking about? Is it connected to VUCA? How is it working? What's the platform? Thank you.
It's a very specific question. I'll give you a very specific answer. So it is working very well. It's in the initial stages. But how it works is that there's a regulatory framework wherein you can get pension funds. You can unlock the capital of pension funds because they are not investing in one asset. They are investing in a pool of assets. Now this pool of assets, you can create a vehicle, which is a tech platform, VUCA, as you mentioned. It serves as an aggregator. it serves an aggregator of investment from retail investors and thus becomes an institutional investors to invest in REITs. That's how we have created that vehicle. Right? I hope I've been able to, because it's a massive topic, but I hope I've been able to summarize it well. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Second question, you said at the front.
Last time I spoke.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Here we are. And one more. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daisy. I have a question. So, from the previous and this session, there has been a common factor of systems. And I was asking if there are any common loopholes you found in systems, because many times companies have their systems set in place, but they still not achieving their target. So, what common loopholes have you found? Yeah, thank you.
Who is it for?
Any specific?
Oh.
The ladies first. Discussion about loopholes is a good place to say ladies first. Okay, go ahead. Maybe we'll take 2 responses from a gentleman and...
Great. So what I'll say is, sorry, I didn't remember your name. Daisy. Your question was on systems and processes. So what I'll direct you to do, first of all, we do have, as B-Lab, one of the things we've created is actually tools that businesses can use to look at their operations, right? So the first thing I'd actually, here I'm also pitching our tool that's called the B Impact Assessment. This is an actually online tool that businesses can actually use to now look at their business holistically. And I think it's an awesome tool to be able to see where your business is at the moment, and then you also actually get improvement reports, like a report that actually shows you these are the areas that your business can improve in, and it is up to you as a business to see what is, your long-term, what's your strategy, and what is aligned to that, and then you can create goals, short, mid, and long-term goals. I think it's actually an awesome tool, if I may say, but I think it would be, really good to now be able to support you to see where you're at and which are the loopholes that you need to work on.
Okay, Amos. Loopholes. Amos, tell us about loopholes.
About loopholes. One of the greatest things I have about me is actually, I think one of the gifts God has given me is the ability to build a team. I always say I am the most useless, actually, like in our headquarters, where we operate from. I'm the only guy without a university degree, including an office messenger. My driver has a university degree. I don't have one, so I need to surround myself with very bright people so that I also look brilliant. Because if I don't do that, I'm have a problem. But yes, the reality is that when you create systems are managed by human beings, and human beings differ. And sometimes wrong for us to make a conclusion based on one wrong human being making a mistake and concluding that everyone else is going to. But I think you also have to, continuous education, I think, in my own opinion, and that has been very important, bringing in better experts, people with better knowledge to help us understand. Even myself, as an entrepreneur, I'm mentored. I just like sitting people who have done better than me, and I've just told you about Dr. Kim. When he comes to Uganda, we drive together for 3-4 days. I'm just learning, taking in, asking questions. He does sometimes I don't understand that I'm trying to learn. Yeah, and, you have to learn. You have to, yeah.
Thank you. We'll take one more.
Yeah, there was one more. There was a question there.
Okay, I guess there's another one at the back, so maybe
that was the fourth one.
Okay, squeeze into, yes.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Elena. My question will go to Mr. Wekesa. You've mentioned you have been impacted by a children's home. Apparently, I'm running one, left behind by my late dad. My question is, as an entrepreneur and somebody who has benefited from a children's home, what do you think we can do to help our communities? Because one of the C's of TBN is community, and I believe we cannot, we have got so many needs from orphans, people who are really desperate, and I just want to understand, when you are talking about opportunity, and I know that is a non-profit organization, as entrepreneurs, how do you think we can help those kids, and how can we empower them? Okay. Is there hope for people who are doing such charity organizations. I hope I'm clear with my question.
Yes.
But I just felt this is something that many people will not talk about, will not even focus on. But it is so dear to me because now I'm there. My line of business is I give out house helps. So I'm empowering communities, but now I've been entrusted with now helping kids who have nobody to help. So I want to know, as entrepreneurs and as TBN, is there anything that can be done?
Thank you. Amos, quick response, and then we have the last question.
Yeah, we grew up 48 boys in a children's home in Tororo. And I must say, the rate of success, to be honest, in terms of scaling, is very low. And I must say, one of the reasons is that when our school fees was paid and our food was put on the table, much as it was very hard, no one explained to us that someone out there actually works hard. And even myself, when I started out doing business, so at one point I thought, I'm a gift to my village. So I would go into my village and dispute money, and I would leave the village extremely very disgruntled, very unhappy. I started paying school fees. I first said, I'm going to pay school fees for 10 kids to actually match up the one, me as a person whose school fees was paid. And I also, all the 10, I think I've had only 2 successful stories. And I realized that I was just paying school fees without explaining and giving these people a chance to practice. The 2 last ones have been able to actually, I spend time with them. They come and work. And I remember at one point, some of the guys I was paying school fees, I would say, come and work. They say, why are you making us work? Why don't you just allow us to do this kind of stuff? So anyway, I think as an entrepreneur, I've seen that the best thing you can ever do to actually society is create jobs. Not just also creating jobs. Let me give you another example we're doing. We have 2 schools we started for training guys in hospitality. There are cafes, one in Budongo and another one in Chiwale National Park. So we get kids from 10 kilometers from the national park, and they must have probably failed A-levels, but they're brilliant enough. So we train them for 6 months in all aspects of hospitality. And I can tell you that 100%, as we speak right now, none of them is unemployed. And they also go back to impact the society. So as you learn in a children's home, you must bring people to speak to them about real values of work.
Good. Very good. The gentleman thank you so much. Gentleman at the back, quick question so we can get a quick answer.
Thank you so much. My name is Simon from African Nazarene University. And my question is, and I direct it to anyone who feels comfortable, how can African unity shape the investment and entrepreneurial opportunity landscape in Africa? And second part to that question, how can the universities in Africa, specifically universities, come into this play? How can the universities also come into play? Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Who wants to take on this mammoth question?
Yes.
I can answer the second part first.
Okay.
For the last 2 years, I have been asking universities, why don't you call us for guest lectures and workshops? There has been no response. Right? So now the onus is not on us. See, the challenge is both sides. There is a gap in skilling, which the universities, they understand. And we also face it. And the issue that we face is that we hire people and then we spend almost 6 months training them. So there is a resource that we also put in. But there is a collaboration that we can do. And imagine we are managing student housing, we align and we sign contracts with all universities. We tell them that we will give you internship opportunities, right? For every 100 students who is staying with us, we will give you 5 internship opportunities, 10 internship opportunities. We have partner universities where we actually go and tell them that, okay, we need we will be the first one to be told that we have these new openings. There is a new property which is coming up. So there's a lot of effort that corporates generally, they are willing to do. That's my, from this side of the table, they are willing to do, but we also need universities to also take some few steps. And there can be a lot of collaboration on the skilling part. That's on the university collaboration. The first one, if I have rightly understood, the question of Africa nation unity, right? Because if a business has to operate from, and we are planning to operate in different countries, there can be a lot of support that can be created at a regulatory level, right? And then the support can be created from a capital raise perspective. Because a lot of people who want to invest capital, you want to create a fintech opportunity which is scalable to Pan-Africa, you will hit a lot of hurdles in terms of regulatory issues, several other aspects. Can those be streamlined? Very difficult, but achievable. It's not like, but the governments have to come together. Now that's Africa unity. But again, can we export skills from one country to the other? Why not? I have just seen Tanzania set up, an Indian university has set up their campus in Tanzania. I'm sure they will be creating massive engineering skills. Similarly, a lot of education businesses, they can actually export skills to each other to support not just entrepreneurship, but also to support skilling. So Africa unity, regulatory part, government support part, those are one area. But again, how educational institutions can help, export skills, create institution for excellence, and attract people from others, train them, send them back. You can create even incubators within the universities with the support of different funds, and then invite people from all over Africa to come, go through some course curriculum, acquire skills, get funding opportunities. So there is a lot of things that can happen Africa unity-wise, and also from the colleges and universities to enable entrepreneurship and then also help entrepreneurship to grow.
Very good.
Good. In the interest of time, I'd like to release it back to the MC and thank Indresh, Rachel, Amos, and Lucy. Thank you very much. Appreciate our panelists.
Yes. So but kindly stay up there. Kindly stay. I'm going to invite Derek Waiswa, Chief Operating Officer. Please, if you could come. Yes, we are shocking you. There's a special gift we want to hand over to you. We don't want to just let you run off. But while he comes up, I'd like to also invite Simon. I think he wanted to add a little bit to the pot of wisdom that has been shared. If you could come forward, sir, I'll give you this microphone. I may have to jump down, so there you go. There's a microphone. So
I just wanted to add on to the question on the children home. So there's a book by Robert Lupton about toxic charity, and in that book, the more people receive free things, the more poorer they become, because you deprive them the dignity to earn. And the dignity, when people earn things, they stay. When people get things, they lose. And so I think the conversation is, how do you help in a way to create independency rather than sustaining dependency? That should be the conversation. In fact, in that book, he has 5 levels of establishing dependence. The first time you give some money to someone, they will say thank you. Second time, they anticipate. Third time, they expect. Fourth time, is that right? Is that right? They will ask, why haven't you sent the money? The month has ended. And there was actually a little story. There is a day I sent money on mobile money, M-Pesa. Some years back, it was 10,000 Kenya shillings. A lot of money then. And I was walking home after every first week, walking home, no fare. And after a week, there was no even SMS to say I got the money. So I thought bad things have happened to them. I called. I asked, did you receive the money? He told me, yes, you received the money, but you didn't load the transactional charges. Okay? In Swahili, we say, huko umeweka ya kutoa. So I asked, kwa hivyo hamjatoa, you haven't withdrawn the cash. So I think the conversation is, we have to shift the partnership to get people to earn. Thank you.
African Nazarene University, if you could stand up, please. The delegation from the university. Everyone from African Nazarene University. We have the Dean, School of Business. We have the Chairman, School of Business. And we have other PhD students, business students. But we also have a delegation from Uganda Christian University, Mukono. If you could stand up. The dean and all that. Why I'm making them to stand up is because as TBN, you heard about one of our goals, objectives, reasons why we exist, why we train you, is that you provide jobs for these people. And we understand that most of these people go through universities. Please have your seats. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. We will be coming to you, business owners, to offer internship opportunities for these students. As a matter of fact, most of the volunteers you have here are from the universities. If any one of them is good for you, I hope you've been watching, give them a job. But also the universities here, we are working out on a program where we would like you to invite us to tell you what works and what doesn't work, so that we solve the on-job training challenge. A lot of resources go into that. So I thought I could speak into that. Thank you so much. Now I can do what I was called to do here. Thank you.
And guest lectures.
And guest lectures.
And guest lectures.
Thank you.
All right. We have a special gift for every one of our panelists. This is to also inspire everyone who is on the other side next year to be a panelist, so you receive a special gift. And Derek, you're going to help me hand this over to Rachel. Yes. After this, we'll take a picture. And the next one here. Thank you. There's pictures being taken there. The next one is Lucy. As you can see, we went with ladies first. There you go. Chivalry is not dead. Indresh, yes, there you go. Thank you, Derek. And as soon as we're done here, we'll have a picture. Amos, I'm retaining yours because we are both from Uganda. Okay. Amos Wekesa. And yes, and finally, Mr. Odipo himself. Yes. A big round of applause, please. And if I may invite you all to rise and take a picture, group picture. We have some fantastic crew that's ready with those cameras to take that picture. Right exactly how you want, just move to the front. Okay. May I squeeze? Okay, yeah. All right, fantastic. A big round of applause for our panelists.